Well, good Saturday morning, everybody. It is June 6th, which is D-Day. June 6th, 26. Uh, Interesting number, I suppose. And we can hear the planes flying over us. It's a good thing that we have clear skies today. In the year of 2026. So, we had a terrible collapse in the stock market yesterday on Friday. I don't know if I've ever seen a minus 5% day. That's going to be in the record books. Obviously, there have been worse days. But I don't know if there's ever been a day when 2 trillion was wiped out. So, another thing that needs to be taken in perspective, we lost about 50 points on the NASDAQ. Not quite 50, but close. 45 points. And S&P 500 was, I think, minus almost 3% at the end of the day. So a really rough day. And at the same time, cryptocurrencies are not an all-time low, but I think they're at an all-time low relative to all-time highs. Ethereum is worthless. Bitcoin is worthless, and so many people have been bamboozled into putting their money. We're going to talk a little bit about crypto, but first, the stock market. A few things to say. Um, this was surprising. It was very strange the last 2 days. On Thursday, we saw the market open red, I believe, and then had just an unstoppable uptrend. Very low volume, just a very not a straight line up, but think of just a very steady uh incline upwards. um and uh and it was very strange because normally you get some sort of a pullback. The pullbacks were very, very slight. So trying to short the market yesterday or 2 days ago, it was really painful. It was very painful for me. Had I just, bought calls, the time when you try to buy calls, it seems the time when people are trying to get bullish on the market after as much skepticism is when they pull the rug out. So very dastardly stuff that we saw on Friday. But it started on Thursday and it's been going on for a couple, weeks and months where we've just been getting unbelievable price action on stocks and just insane euphoria. And people get caught up. It happens every time. People get caught up in the euphoria and they forget the principles of investing, which is you need to buy when they're low and sell when they're high. And it sounds like the most obvious thing on earth. And it is, except that with investing, the thing about investing is it's all psychological. You can have some degree of automation. You have people using AI bots nowadays to do their trading for them. It's not something that even if I would consider doing it, um, I think you need to be able to make your own decisions. I mean, I would look at the evidence, and if I don't think it's going to get to a point where AI does everything. You still have to have some. There's always going to be the role of psychology, because ultimately, what AI will do, maybe will make the decisions, but the money is still yours. It's not the AI cannot have emotions, and everybody has different time horizon for their investments and this, that, and the other, what they need the money for. So I don't know exactly what triggered a 5% collapse in the market. The theories that have been circulating for the past few days before this was that money was rotating out of the chip stocks into either just cash on hand for the SpaceX IPO. There's been speculation that with not just the massive magnitude of the SpaceX IPO, but also later this year, perhaps Anthropic and OpenAI and others, that there's going to be a massive liquidity dump, a massive rotation. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Um, it's not like institutions don't already hold stakes, I believe, in some of these companies anyway. I don't know. Um, I also don't think that they can't just put more money into the market. They've got money in other places. There will always be circulation of more money. It doesn't have to be a zero sum game necessarily. Um, but It's very suspicious to see a -5 day in the stock market. I'm telling you, looking at it after it's happened is one thing, but being a trader and seeing, the market opened, had a brief, like maybe one or two candles, not even a 5 minute candle, maybe 2 minutes, market opened, the indexes were green, and then they dumped. And you could have made an unbelievable amount of money if you had gotten in right at the open. Other than the fact that the IV was super high, so prices were a little bit extreme. But if you trade index options, you could have made. It was one of those very rare days where it was just a straight line. Again, an incline, but pretty much a straight trend down, and and you don't see very many days like that. And somehow I made money on calls. You're gonna call me crazy, but I made money on calls on a day when the stock market was down 5%. But there was only a couple of moments in the day where you could have made money on the bounce, because every time they tried to bounce it, the selling pressure was just overwhelming. And there was a lot of volume. There would be some people that say there was a low volume day. It wasn't. It was a much higher than usual trading volume. Um, I don't know why people are saying that. It was a lot of volume. And there were some big pullbacks in the stock market. A lot of it was led by the South Korean market, down 13 to 14%. I haven't really looked into why, but that's a concern, because they're really over leveraged. If Americans are over leveraged in stocks, the South Koreans are extremely over leveraged in stocks, and they have good companies, but they're extremely over leveraged in stocks, and that's going to affect everyone's market. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, maybe now I should have taken profits, but we expected a pullback. We didn't think it would be like this. I don't know if -5% is a healthy pullback in a single day, but it could be. We'll see. We'll see what next week with the SpaceX IPO holds. There is a lot riding on that. So ultimately, I think the market's in a good position. But it's suspicious timing with the release of the pattern day trading rule, which is excellent. It's an excellent choice. The pattern day trading rule, obviously a bunch of nonsense. It has never helped anyone to keep their money. It's only good at stunting the growth of traders, and actually makes them lose money, because you're encouraged to hold a losing position so you don't simply get an arbitrary day trade violation. It's ridiculous. Day trading is how you make maybe not the big money, but it's how you make an income, a steady income through investing. You need to be able to make some daily profits. You can make $1 million in a day if you know what you're doing. All right, it's very risky, but the idea that the pattern day trading rule was there to protect people was a form of gaslighting. It was nonsense. But they took the guardrails off, and then they dumped the market 5%. And gave very few people any opportunities unless you were short. You could have made a fortune, and it's tough, because I tried to do that the day before, And I was very confused as to why there was no pullback, and then we get the pullback the next day. So, just when you think you've got it all figured out, the people that run things, the market makers, nah, they are smarter than you want to give them credit for. They can pull the rug out from under you just like that. So, I would still hold on to my positions because I'm in at a good time and place, but people are going to start to get antsy and start securing profits at this point. You just never know when the top is going to be. And then one day you get 5% of the market wiped out and you're wishing that you had taken those gains. And the psychology flips just like that. But I think we're still in a good position. We do have a lot of negative catalysts, though. So, but the actual fundamentals of the companies are still excellent at this moment in time. So it's not time to panic yet until we see multiple days and weeks of a pullback. And I don't really want that, because that's. But I imagine the stocks will make new all-time highs at some point. Again, I don't think we've seen the top. But anyway, but with cryptocurrency, just to talk about Bitcoin for a little bit, Bitcoin, we keep seeing, I keep seeing videos of Michael Saylor trying to pump Bitcoin, and it's really pathetic. I think that I don't have all the facts at my disposal, but let's just say MicroStrategy does not appear to be doing very well as a company. They have a lot of people that they have to pay out the dividends to strategy from the ETF, the dividend portion of their company, and Bitcoin continues to lose its value. It continues to show that it is absolutely worthless. There are a lot of intelligent people in the cryptocurrency space that are very, very good at talking in circles and trying to convince you you're owning a piece of freedom. You're not. It's even more, cryptocurrency is even more, the idea that it's decentralized is nonsense. It's even more centralized than the government being able to print money, because the circulation, see, the dollar has enormous circulation, which you would think would cause inflation, and that is part of inflation. But what it also has is purchasing power, and is also backed by the economy. A country's currency is backed by the goods that it produces. It's all about the cost of importing and what you can export. And so a lot of countries have lower currencies, so the cost of importing and exporting can go down, right? If they devalue the currency a little bit, then it's easier to do transactions with them relative to other currencies. But ultimately, the dollar is what it is because it is backed by both the American government and what we produce, our GDP. And Bitcoin is backed by absolutely nothing. And there's this idea, and Michael Saylor and other people have tried to say, well, Bitcoin's value is in theory infinite because there's a short supply of Bitcoin. It's limited in circulation, and that number can never increase. It can only decrease. But the value of something is not due to the scarcity of it. It is due to the demand and the necessity of it. Okay, so oxygen, for example, everyone needs to breathe oxygen. And that's there's nothing that you can be in demand more for than oxygen. Your cells need oxygen. You need oxygen to create water. Oxygen is needed for each and every process that most life forms, especially humans. You understand basic biology. So oxygen, despite being everywhere and being plentiful, there's nothing scarce about the air that you breathe. But it is more valuable than just about anything, because without it, you have nothing. So this idea that Bitcoin is valuable, who's placing the value on it? A roll of toilet paper at a gas station bathroom could be a scarce resource. But in the grand scheme of things, maybe at the time that you need it, that becomes the most valuable thing on earth. Um, but Bitcoin has no such usage. You can't even wipe your ass with it. And that's how worthless Bitcoin is. As worthless as NFTs or anything else. In a free market, people are allowed to put the value of what they perceived. People can put the perceived value onto something, but ultimately, Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. And finally, people are starting to dump Bitcoin, and sooner or later, the uh, the whales, so to speak, will have to dump Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will go to zero. And people like Peter Schiff are going to be correct. I don't agree with Peter Schiff on everything. I think he's a little bit of a doom and gloomer, but regarding crypto and Bitcoin, I think he's right. Uh, the prices of these assets are the most overinflated assets in history. Their value should be zero. I remember I was given over 300,000, which sounds like a lot. I was given over 300,000 Shiba Inu coins back in 2021 that were worth $10 in 2021. They're now worth less than $2, and I sold them. Kept the same amount, never touched it. 5 or 6 years later, it's lost almost 80% of its value. Um, so the idea is that simply, stocks have value because you invest in companies that produce revenue, and they produce goods that people continue to buy and people continue to need. Cryptocurrency, you're not going to ever get your freedom from the government. Uh, the idea that it's someone that has a billion dollars worth of a currency, they have more not only purchasing power but authority over that currency is ridiculous. Just because someone has, $100 billion does not make your money suddenly worth less because of how the free market works. They may have more purchasing power than you, but that doesn't stop you from also getting the same things for the same price. Uh, but when one person can sell their Bitcoin on the open market for dollars, they're not buying other cryptocurrency with it. It's all about converting back into dollars because that's the only that's the only hedge against Bitcoin is its valuation in terms of dollar amounts. It's not backed by anything in the real world. It's backed by the convertibility into fiat currency, and all these people are saying the fiat is worthless. Well, then I can't imagine what crypto is. So crypto is bullshit. There's a lot of people that invest in crypto that just simply didn't understand stocks, that you could invest in penny stocks at the same valuation as some of these shit coins, and you could make more money in a single day trading stocks than you could ever make with a more expensive and more dangerous uh, habit of trading crypto, where there's a high transaction cost for a large volume of it. So, uh, you know, crypto is garbage. I hope it goes to zero, and I will leave the video referencing what I think Ken Griffin at Citadel, believe he said a couple years ago. He couldn't understand why so many Americans, when we have the U.S. dollar, that they're putting their money in the cryptocurrency, which is absolutely worthless and backed by nothing. He said something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing, but I know he said that, and uh, and I agree with that. People are wasting their money in speculative assets instead of buying stocks and buying real world assets and trying to devalue the dollar. This crusade against the dollar is not good for anybody. You're not going to be able to go anywhere else in the world and really do much with Bitcoin. For example, um, you go to most Asian countries, particularly you go to Japan, and you go to most places in Japan. They still have, and I know this from experience, there's still people using paper money, particularly not just bills but coins. Nobody really uses coins anymore in America. When's the last time you've seen somebody, taking quarters out of their pockets to pay for something? But in Japan, they use a lot of coins, particularly for drink machines and things of that nature. But you can pay for anything with coins because they have coins that obviously aren't as valuable as the bills, but they can get the job done. Um, in combination with bills, because they have coins. Unlike America, we don't really use coins anymore that have value worth more than pennies, but they have some that are worth dollar amounts. Anyway, uh, there are certain things you cannot buy in Japan without physical money. They don't accept credit cards everywhere, and they're definitely not going to accept your Bitcoin. So you need to have legal tender, and you need to have real assets. So the cryptocurrency bubble is going to pop relative to the S&P 500. It's doing very poorly, and relative to its highs, there's no expectation that cryptocurrency will ever get back to its euphoric highs that it reached a few years ago. Inflation is going to get worse. This idea that it's a protection against inflation is bullshit, because you can't buy Bitcoin. You have to buy a Bitcoin using fiat currency, and a fiat currency, the value of it's being inflated, uh, well, you have to also buy other things with that. So you're going to have less money to buy on shitcoins. The supply of shitcoins, or the circulation, I should say, of shitcoins, the supply of Bitcoin may remain largely unchanged, but the amount of people holding it and using it is going to come way down. And then it will be worth nothing. It will go under 40,000, under 20,000, and it'll be satisfying to see it go to zero. But unfortunately, so much time and money has been spent on trying to pump cryptocurrency. Even governments have been getting involved. I think it's just a bunch of nonsense. We were also promised Web 3.0 and all this bullshit. It's all a fucking scam. I don't think AI is a bubble, but I know that cryptocurrency, NFTs, and that type of shit is nonsense. And it's not worth anything. So just buy stocks, buy index funds, buy bonds. Yeah, the yields are high, but they're cheap right now. The actual bonds are cheap, and they have to pay the interest no matter what. So there's I would say buy stocks over cryptocurrency and other bullshit. Buy the companies that are good. They go up over time. They produce revenue. And I think we're going to be all right. I think we're going to be all right long term. But we're all in this together. So whatever happens, it was interesting seeing my portfolio down 4% in a day, and just impossible to really get a confirmed bounce. So it's going to be very interesting next week. Very, very interesting.